Everyone, thanks for joining us. Some of you are watching live, some of you are watching a recording of this, but nonetheless, glad to have you here. We're talking about schedules today and the perfect schedule. I want to give you the lay of the land first, and you understand who I am and why this should hopefully be of value to you. My name is Erik Hatch of Hatch Realty and Hatch Coaching out of Fargo, North Dakota. And we run a pretty awesome real estate team here in town, including 3 expansion markets. Our team is, I think, 42 people as of today. I'm going to have to go back and count all the heads again, but we're 42 people as of today. We're on pace to do about 850 to 900 transactions this year, placing us as one of the top 50 real estate teams in the country. In addition to that, I serve as CEO and rainmaker of that. I haven't been in production for almost 6 years now. But I have also had the joy of opening up another company called Hatch Coaching, which is how you heard about this today. Hatch Coaching, our goal, if you can see right here, is redefining how people treat people. We have 2 elements of what we do. We want to make sure we're taking better care of the client and better care of our teams and ourselves. And so my partner Robbie T and I do a lot of webinars. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, be sure to do so. Subscribe to that because we have a ton of videos in there. And we want to bring as much value to you as possible. But we are talking about the perfect schedule today. And it's been a struggle for me. I can't say I mastered the schedule, but I can tell you that I've figured out a way in which my schedule can totally dictate and narrate my life, which actually creates more freedom. One of the first principles I want you to know and understand is that your schedule, the more things you have on it, it actually gives you more freedom and more clarity and a better understanding of who you need to be and who you need not be. We fall victim to the "got a minute" people all the time. You can't see right here, I have a glass wall accompanied by a glass door, and people constantly who are walking by in my coaching office know what I'm doing. And they know if I'm on a video chat like this, if I'm producing a webinar, they can't come in and do the "gotta minutes." However, most of our worlds, if you're not on a Zoom call or if you're not on a phone call, it has people constantly interrupting us. They're constantly saying "gotta minute," or we allow the flashing blue light or red light of our phone, that new email notification or text message or pop-up of a Facebook post. Those things distract us. There's a book by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan called The One Thing, and they talk about doing one thing exceedingly well and protecting your schedule to represent that. So you could read the book or you can watch my webinar, but a lot of it is going to be some paralleling thoughts, and I do have some additional things to add to that because I am convinced that mastering your schedule is going to be the way in which you can achieve things you never thought possible. 10 years ago, I was a part-time realtor. I was doing ministry full-time, and I was, probably 50 hours a week in that job, and I was 20 or 30 hours a week in real estate. And I mean, I was hustling, and I wanted to be a yes man to so many people. I think that's one of the sins of this industry is that we want to be yes men and yes women, where we say and we boast that we work 24 hours a day. And I think that when we say that we work 24 hours a day and that we're always available for our clients, that's mistake number 1. I actually think that boundaries are going to be the thing that are going to be imperative on protecting your life and protecting your schedule. See, we shouldn't brag that we are slaves to our business because that means that we are not dedicated to our family like we should. And it means that we are willing to sacrifice for other people that are not our primary and our core. It is a dangerous philosophy to say that I'm constantly there for my clients. Let me change that language, because the phrase constant means that you are always available when they call, when they text, whatever. I am there for my clients. My encouragement for you is that you are there for your clients, but you create some boundaries. I actually think that people that you work with respect boundaries. I'll give you an example. A realtor on my team has been with us over 6 years now. His name is Rob. He's going to pass 500 transactions in the next month or 2 for a number of homes he sold. I mean, just a tremendous amount. And Rob's a listing agent. Rob also has 2 kids under the age of 4 at home. And Rob has a wife that's a nurse, and they obviously want to have time where they're not constantly on call because the barrage of this business can get to you. And so we put parameters by encouraging, Rob put parameters by us encouraging him to protect his time and his schedule. So when Rob's at a listing appointment, he'll tell his clients, listen, I'm in appointments except for the hours of 11 to 12, and I may have the numbers wrong here, but I'm in appointments except for the hours of 11 to 12 and 4 to 5 every day. And so I'll always make sure to follow up with any inquiries that you have at that time. By the way, that scheduled time on somebody's calendar is when they say, I'm going to schedule my time to respond to you. And then he'll also tell his clients that after 5 p.m., I'm at home with my family. Unless it's a literal fire, know that I'll respond to you the next morning. And Rob has a massive conversion rate. He'll sell over, he'll pass his 500th home sale this year in just 6 years, and he's created boundaries for his family. You see, you get to choose what hours you work, and you get to choose not to let people hit you with a barrage of things all the time. As I explained this to one of my coaching clients, they said, yeah, but I had a client actually call and they were having a literal fire. I said, well, a literal fire you should respond to, but frankly, we shouldn't be slaves to our phones. I challenge you right now to take this phone, not maybe this one, but your own phone, and when you're at home, leave it in another room. If you have this addiction to your phone, and I'm betting that you do because most of us in real estate do, if you have this addiction to your phone, the chance for you to master your schedule means that at night, if that's family time, if that's personal time, that you are not a slave to the next beep or the next buzz that comes on your phone. Maybe you make the rule that at 7 p.m. and at 9 p.m. you're going to check your phone, but otherwise be with your family. Be with your friends. Don't be a slave to this business. And you can still climb higher than anybody else if you get disciplined, if you get structure on your schedule and you protect that. If you don't believe me, I currently am running 25 businesses. Half of them are investment groups. The others are all tied to real estate except for one little off project that I have. 25 businesses I'm a part of. And I work from 7:30 in the morning until 5 at night. I bring my kids to school. I make supper for my family every night. I put my kids in bed. I get awesome time with my wife. I'll occasionally check my phone. See, my schedule has made my family my priority, and it has not been at the cost of my business. You can indeed have your cake and eat it too. So let's move on from that. Obviously, we don't want you to be on call 24 hours a day. Please get that language, that mentality out of your mind. By the way, those of you who are watching live right now, I want this to be a conversation and not just a presentation. So please, if you have questions, if you have comments, put them in the Q&A portion or the chat box, and I'll do my best to try to get to all those. If you're watching the recording and you have additional questions, just let me know. I'm here to help. One of my favorite adages, this came from my time, I used to be a Keller Williams agent, and they said at bold classes, if it's not on your schedule, it doesn't exist. Please write that down because it is a major philosophy that has to be foundational. If it's not on your schedule, it doesn't exist. You see, there's a big opportunity for you right now to master your life, and it's by mastering your schedule. It's why we're doing this perfect schedule webinar right now, is we want people to be able to understand what needs to show up on that schedule. So what needs to show up? If it's on your schedule, it's important. It means that you're going to hopefully commit to it. And here's the understanding that I'm making as I cover this. The understanding is if you are going to be committed to your schedule and honor those time blocks, success will be afforded to you. But if your schedule says do lead generation at 8 a.m. and you don't do that, it just doesn't matter. If your schedule says go work out 3 times a week and you don't do that, it doesn't matter. See, the things that show up on our schedule are to protect our time and for us to honor our time. See, I have people who have access to my calendar and they can put something on it at any time. And so if it's important to me, it has to show up on my schedule. My time, even my drive time, has to show up on my schedule because otherwise somebody will will put on my calendar something that allows us to meet face to face or Zoom to Zoom, whatever it may be. And now I'm susceptible to anybody else. In our ecosystem, our agents have to control their calendar by a 15-minute increment, because if they don't, our ISAs will schedule an appointment for them. Everything from your meals to your drive time to everything else has to show up on your schedule, and then you have to honor it. If you don't honor that, you will not get the results that you're craving. All right. Do the most important things first. See, we need to understand what's a priority, what needs to go in order here. And I have built a pyramid of priorities. This, in fact, shows up in my book. Here is a shameless self-promotion. It's on a little tab, but I wrote a book last year. It's about servant leadership. It's called Play for the Person Next to You. And I emphasize I have an entire chapter on this pyramid because it's that big of a deal. The base of your pyramid here, and please capture a screenshot here, write this down. This is a really important thing. God and family are at the base. And in fact, I want you to add self to that. I'm not here to preach and teach religion, and I'm not here to preach and teach saying that you should have a family. I could put friendships in there. I could put whatever it is you're most passionate about, but so many of us in this industry are sacrificing that base of the pyramid for what we think is most important. We think our clients are the most important. We think our time spent chasing the almighty dollar is the most important. We think business development is the most important, and it is not. It is God and family and self at the base of your pyramid. If your family and your friends and yourself are getting your leftovers, and that you hope that you have enough energy to give that to them after you pour into everything else, there is no possible way that you are going to be who God made you designed to be. It's just not going to happen. So mastering the time for God, family, and self is huge. That needs to show up on your schedule. You need to have a literal revamp of your schedule. That time is the thing that everything else schedules around. If you have a family dinner on your schedule and a client wants to see a house, which comes first? See, a lot of us think that, well, if I need to show a house, I got to jump and do that. But that can wait till 7:30. That can, clients will understand if you tell them the priorities that you have. Listen, I'm going to work exceedingly hard for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, or Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. I'm going to be there every step of the way to help you win. However, I need you to know that my family is really important to me. And I'm always going to try to find a way, but I'm never going to let something stand in the way of my family. And guess what? People love that. They respect that. They don't want somebody to be at their beck and call. They want somebody to be passionate and to have boundaries. It is a shocking revelation for a lot of your businesses. Now, the next thing is team. And some of you are independent solo agents. Some of you are admin. Some of you are growing a team. But I did lunch with a realtor friend of mine here in Fargo a couple of years ago. And he said to me, Hatch, this is the year I finally put my clients first. And I'm like, oh, dude, that is not the right choice, because he had a team of 7 people that were looking to him to get better. They were craving coaching and influencing and leadership, and they wanted to have him show up. They wanted to have him show up in the most passionate of ways, and he wanted to put his clients first. See, the next thing that's of importance is after your God, family, and self is your team. If you don't have a team, I'd replace that not with clients, but with business development. See, knowing that you're visioning and taking active steps to grow your empire, even if you want to be a solopreneur your entire life, you still need to put the focus on working on the business and not in the business. So whether it's team or business development, that needs to come on your schedule, and it needs to show up with your energy and your intention before clients. That means that the old adage that a lot of us have heard, that lead generation is the most important thing in our business, I don't believe is true. It's a deviation. Do I think this is a lead generation business? Yeah, I mean, it's a part of it. It's also a lead follow-up business. I would actually put lead follow-up as more important than lead generation. Taking care of those things that we've already earned and paid for and touching those matters more than getting something else that's new that we're not going to give a lot of attention to. And yet, I never wanted to be a realtor that was just working with clients. And it's a great life. If you're choosing to be that realtor that's working directly with clients and you don't want to grow from there, power to you. It's just not what I wanted. I wanted a world where I had a chance to impact and influence. And in fact, in my book, I talk about how my desire in life is to be a chapter in as many other books as possible. It's what my purpose is. And when you know what your purpose is, I don't think that your purpose is to open doors and your purpose is to be at the beck and call of your clients. My guess is that your purpose is to be impactful and influential, and our schedule needs to reflect that. Now, above team and above business development, next comes clients. That's your lead generation and your lead follow-up time. That's your showing of houses and that sort. We oftentimes don't need to do business development every day. We don't need to do it every moment, but that needs to be a massive priority that does not get scheduled over. If it does have to get scheduled over, you need to replace it and not erase it. We'll come to that in a little bit. And then finally, your community. There needs to be, I believe, in order for a purposeful schedule, a way in which you infuse care for your community with your clients, with your team, and with your family and yourself. I think it shows up on all those. Now, there's a book, I'll come back to this in just a moment. There's a book called The Miracle Morning by a guy named Hal Elrod. If you haven't read it, it is fundamentally awesome. I have a private mastermind that I run, and we brought Hal in last month and actually spoke to that mastermind, and it was so great. Hal has an acronym called SAVERS. I want you to write this down because it's really important. He believes that in the Miracle Morning, that your morning, how you start off your day, is going to determine the success that's waiting for you. That your most important minutes are the first ones that you wake up, and that your most potent recipe for a powerful life comes from doing the most important things first. And so he pulled together a lot of different random thoughts and really put it in something that was memorable and remarkable. And that is this SAVERS mentality. So let's break this down. If you want to win the morning, you win the day. Here's how you start the day off right. This is the first stuff that you do. This can be 20 or 30 minutes. This does not have to be the 3-hour I change everything mentality. S is silence. Meditation, prayer, breathing, whatever works for you. Followed then by affirmations. I would encourage you to write these down and to keep a journal of this. I make sure that what I see looking back at me in the mirror is not a defeated person when I start the day. I talk about what I'm capable of instead of what I'm incapable of. I talk about how I'm powerful instead of weak. Next is to visualize, and this is some of my favorite stuff. This is where a lot of us struggle, is this visualization piece. See, visualization is dreaming, and we sometimes get so busy with the monotony and the tasks that we have that we fail to visualize our next step. And being a visionary is one of the greatest gifts that you've ever been given, is to dream and to look ahead so that you know that you're making progress. The number one thing that leads to job satisfaction and satisfaction in life, it's not a title, it's not money, it's not a position of power. It is the feeling of progression. And the only way that you know if you're progressing is if you first visualize it and you know that you're on the right path. It is so important. The V in SAVERS is visualization. E is exercise. Look at that. It doesn't have to be powerlifting or long distance. Just do some bodyweight exercises for 5 minutes. Get your blood flowing. Go on a quick walk. Step outside. Take a new perspective. I did something last year called 75 Hard. It is a path of basically taking all this and amplifying it for 75 straight days. And the clarity that I had in my life from being disciplined on these kind of things, it was greater then than I've ever had it. In fact, I'm craving getting back to it, and it's coming soon. R is reading, fill your brain with positive thoughts and ideas, and finally scribing, writing or journaling. And I encourage you to journal your affirmations and also track on life because you're going to monitor progress. Super important stuff. Your morning is the way in which you work on getting a perfect schedule. And my challenge to you would be to schedule out at least 30 minutes to work on your savers each day. Now, I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Let's go back to my pyramid of priorities. Hopefully you wrote it down. God, family, self is at the bottom. That first 30 minutes, that's about self-care. That first 30 minutes, that's about prepping your family. That first 30 minutes is about your relationship with God. And those things as the primary focus of what you're doing, that's how you start your day off right. And then, of course, you time block your vacations and your dinners and your kids' sporting events and all those other things. That needs to have everything else scheduled around it. I have a coaching client in Seattle. It's actually a husband and wife combo, and they are grinders. They're the ones that will show up at 4 a.m. at the gym. They have their self-care nailed down, but they have 3 young kids, and they struggled with family care because they were slaves to the business. And as their coach, I commanded them. I don't really command people. I just give strong suggestions. I'm like, all right, you're gonna get totally burnt out if you don't take some time off. I said, when are you going to get away? And the minute that they finish their vacation, the next question is, when are you going to get away again? Now it's to the point that they are getting away once a month. They're working 4 or 5 days a week, and then they're taking a 4 or 5 day vacation once a month. See, a lot of us think that we have to be slaves to our business, and we don't. We just have to be disciplined with our time. And so if taking vacations and getting away and changing perspective matters, that's only going to happen when you schedule it. See, there's some people in their lives who schedule things simply because they don't have the discipline, and other times they schedule things simply because they're trying to protect their schedule. Some people don't put exercise on their schedule, and they don't put exercise as the first thing that they do in the day because they're so habitual with it that they don't even need to put it on there. It just happens. But my guess is that the secret to what you want is on the other side of what you need to schedule. Because your habits are what you have. Your schedule shows you what you want. And if you want to get in better shape, if you want to take vacations, if you want to have time off, you can't magically expect you to find motivation after an exhausting day in real estate because it doesn't happen. You have to schedule it, and you have to honor that time block schedule. Now, God, family, self at the base. The next is your team. And if you're going to pay great attention to your team, you need to be doing things in both the scheduled and the sporadic. Please write that down. See, we show up as leaders for our team and for our business planning in the scheduled and the sporadic. The scheduled is I have a one-on-one with you, and I'm going to show you in just a moment how to do a great one-on-one, what that schedule looks like. There's also the sporadic time, and I think that's actually where you gain most of your momentum is in that sporadic. You might need to schedule it, and the other person will know it's sporadic. You know, it won't feel scheduled for them, but a one-on-one is like when you're diving into your team and you're covering goals and you're pushing an agenda forward. But a sporadic one-on-one is a happy hour beer or a quick coffee break or just sitting down and shooting the stuff with somebody for 20 or 30 minutes without an agenda because you build trust as the foundation. And in fact, as you're looking at your schedules, trust building is the most important thing that you do. Any great one-on-one is irresponsible if you don't have personal connections first. This is finding out about what's going on in that person's life, in their head, in their ecosystem. It's the most important thing. And sometimes you don't even get past, in a one-on-one, you don't get past personal connections. I wish you did sometimes. But if somebody has a death in the family, that just happened. In fact, last night, my background is in ministry. A lot of you know that. And I did it for 8 years and had some unbelievable youth group kids. And this last Friday, one of my youth group kids, his name's Grant, he died. He battled alcoholism for quite some time, and he died. And his parents were really active at the church, and his brother, Greg, was also in my youth group. His brother Greg married Noelle, who was one of my youth group kids too. So like I knew this family exceedingly well. And I went over to their house last night, and we laughed, we cried, we prayed. We spent about 2.5 hours just doing life together. And I was talking to Greg. Greg is a psychologist out of the Twin Cities, super smart doctor. He's a psychologist, and he said that the first text message he got was from one of his coworkers saying, like, "Oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry that you lost your brother." You know, she's dealt with people in grief and trauma a whole lot. And then the next text message said, "You get 3 days of bereavement." That's what is in like our ecosystem. And what she did is she went so fast into the like, well, let's get back to business, and she failed to see him where he was at and recognize it. So he had some salt in his wound from that. You know what I mean? And that's what a lot of us do with our schedules is we do a one-on-one, and somebody's dealing with death or cancer or addiction or depression or a fight with their kids or loneliness or whatever it may be. And we just breeze over it and we talk about the time off and the goals. And if they're in that triage point of heavy life stuff, you can't just go past it. You can't. You need to meet them where they're at, listen, acknowledge, build a game plan, and activate from that. Now, you cover the personal connections, and if time allows, you then go to your homework review, because any great one-on-one is actually assigning homework. It's a book to read, it's a person to talk to, it's a tweak in what they're doing, but it's reviewing that homework to make sure that work is being done. Now, from that, the next is triage. The first is personal connections, and there's personal triage that you tend to. But this next triage is work triage. This work triage is relating to their goals, relating to the people that they work with, making sure that there isn't a gaping or giant elephant in the room that is keeping things from actually progressing and moving forward. You may not get past this triage stuff for quite some time because the person's struggling. But when you do, the next thing to go to are goals. See, a lot of times in one-on-ones, people jump right to goals and they say, well, you're supposed to be selling 30 homes this year and you've only sold 20. What's going on? And I just don't think that's the right way to do it. And instead, your opportunity to win, your opportunity to help them succeed comes on the other side of really diving into these goals. And these goals now, when you finally get to it and you've tended to everything else, it is not your goal as the person who's running the meeting. It is instead about their goals. See, we have standards, goals, and expectations. If you're to write that down, standards are on the bottom. Standards are what the company says everybody has to be above this line in order to even exist here. Most of you don't actually have standards, you just have suggestions. Because if a standard isn't met, there has to be consequences that are associated with it. Above standards are goals, and goals are very, very specific, not by what I want, but by what that person wants. And I want to be able to know wholeheartedly the life that they want, not just the number of homes they want to sell or the time that they want to work, but I want to know why. I need to peel back the layers of that onion and dive in deep to figure out their intrinsic motivation, because that's what we keep in front of them. Is we move the needle forward and help them to do more, to be more, to give more, and to have more by what they want, not by what I want. Again, standards, then goals. At the very top of that are expectations. And expectations are my old camp counselor, youth director coming through on all that. It is talking about the possibility that somebody has, and it's breathing truth, capital T truth, of what they are really capable of. Because if all you do is talk about your standards, people aren't going to be excited about that. If all you do is talk about the goals that they have, they might be excited about that, but it'll be fleeting. But if you can talk about expectations and what you see in people and what they're actually capable of, and you tell somebody, hey, I know your goal is to sell 40 homes this year. If you wanted to, I bet you could sell 60 and I'll help you get there. Like, how does that show up for somebody, right? It's big, it's huge. It's shockingly influential. And then finally, we always want to make sure that we assign new homework, that there's something to work on as we go forward. Bob is asking the question, will this be available in a recording? Bob, absolutely it will, and we'll be sending that out to you when we are done here. It comes in a couple of hours after we piece it all together. So that's how you have a great one-on-one. This is all about tending to your team. Here's how often I think you should do one-on-ones, by the way. Your first 6 months, every week, 30 minutes, every week. After 6 months, every other week for 45 minutes. It's an easy pivot and shift, but it frees up some more time where you can do some group meetings at that time. Some people loathe meetings. Some people hate meetings. Me, I crave meetings. There's a book you should write down. It's called The Motive by Patrick Lencioni. He's known as one of the main leadership gurus in all of stuff. Patrick Lencioni has written about a dozen leadership books, and he says that The Motive is the very first one that you should read. And the reason why he brings it up is because he says that it lays the foundation of what it means to be a CEO and a leader of other people. And the things that you have to learn to love, like you have to learn to love meetings. And if you can do that, you have a much greater chance at achieving what it is that you want and are hungry for. So we've covered God, family, self. We've covered your team. Now we need to make sure that when somebody comes and asks for your time, I'm going to jump to this in just a minute. When somebody comes and asks for your time, that you actually protect it. I don't know about you, but like it was 2014 that I opened up Hatch Realty. First time we had ever opened up our own company. Otherwise, I was working at other brokerages, and the regular world didn't pay much attention to me. And then there was this instance when all of a sudden I opened up my own brokerage and everybody wanted to talk to me. Nonprofits wanted me to sit on their board and donate. Young entrepreneurs wanted to come and learn from me. People started asking for my time a lot. Now, as a real estate coach and as somebody who's active in our local community, I get requests 4 or 5 or 6 times a week for my time. And I wonder if that's you right now. Maybe it's not in my kind of world, but you get randos asking for your time. And when those randos ask for your time, oftentimes we say yes because we're constantly fishing and we're saying yes to a lot of people, but you can't say yes to everybody. And yet there's a consequence when you say no. I think no is a magnificent word, but you can't ever just say no. I had an agent, we're getting a new website right now, and one of my agents had asked me, hey, can I have some voice on this website development? Like it had been finished, you know? And I responded with a text message that said, no, not right now. And that didn't go over well. It didn't go over well because when somebody asks for your time, or if they want input and you simply say no, I think you're leaving them feeling pretty salty. I had to take the time to explain why it was a no, because she had representatives that was helping out and that her voice actually was being heard. It wasn't just me saying no, but I was brief with it. So what I've learned to do is I've pivoted from a no to like a yes when. If somebody asks for me for my time or anything else, I usually put some obstacles in their way. I'll put some challenges of a book to read or a webinar to watch or a blog to digest. I'll put these things out there for them so that they can go and actively chase after that. And if they're going to do that, now we're going to have a conversation with more purpose and more time. I wonder which of you are getting the time suck pulled from all these different directions. It's okay to create obstacles and to not say yes to everybody, because when you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. My guess is that you all thought that this webinar here was going to be about how to have the perfect lead generation schedule. And yes, that's important, and we're going to get there. Take a look at that, by the way. What a beefcake that guy is. Lead generation matters a lot. So remember, we give our best to the things that matter most, and that's on our pyramid. It's God, family, and self first, then it's our team, and now it's lead generation. It's clients, it's showings and other things. I don't know about you, but I've actually run a marathon. It was 2002, I ran the Twin Cities Marathon, and then in 2009 and 10, I ran the Fargo Half Marathon. So I've done some running in my life. The best example I can think of it is there's an episode of How I Met Your Mother where Barney, one of the main characters, basically bets himself or gets dared to go and run the New York City Marathon. And Barney's not a runner. And so what Barney does is he shows up, runs the entire marathon, 26.2 miles, 4 hours of running. And he's like, yeah, I did it. Running a marathon isn't hard. Then he gets on the subway to go home, sits down, and is on there for 15 minutes or so. And then when it comes to a stop, he actually can't stand up physically because his body has shut down. He did lead generation and he did running, whatever it may be. He did it for 4 hours and he was able to do it. But then it shut him down. It shut him down to the point that he couldn't get off the subway. And when we tell our agents and when we tell ourselves, I'm going to go and lead generate for 3 or 4 hours, and you're not in marathon shape and you haven't worked your way up to be in that kind of shape, yeah, you can maybe do it for a day or two, but you will be shell-shocked and will be unable to have the kind of performance long-term that you want. You'll be burnt out, you'll be sore, and you can't do it again. So what we've done is we've pivoted, and I'm actually going to email this out to you when this is done for those of you that are watching live. We've pivoted and we created what's called an RWOD, stolen from the CrossFit language. CrossFit does WODs, workouts of the day. When you show up to CrossFit, they tell you what to do. They say these are the number of burpees you're doing and pull-ups and squats and all these other things because they know that they've created an ecosystem that should breed for you unbelievable results. I have one of my coaching clients is the powerlifting champion for the state of Maryland. Just a big, beefy dude. And I asked him, how many years did you have to go to the gym before you created your own schedule? He said it took like 3 years. To be the powerlifting champion of Maryland, it took him 3 years to actually get his own rhythm. See, we're throwing ourselves and our agents at lead generation, and we throw it to them thinking that they are walking into a gym like they've done it for 3 years and they know what to do. But they don't. You don't know, I don't know, and they certainly don't know what to do because they're not seasoned vets. It's not a habit yet. And so it has to be a discipline. And the discipline that I want to encourage you to do is to do a short burst, not a 3-hour lead generation session. I'm talking a 30 or 45-minute lead generation session with a 15-minute break, and then you go and you do it one more time. And in that, in our RWOD stuff that we're going to send to you and share with you, here's what you want to do. You need to identify the who. Who are you going to be contacting? Is it expireds or FSBOs? Is it old pay-per-click leads? Is it people in your sphere, people you've met at open houses? You identify the who. You then identify the how. Are you going to handwrite them notes? You're going to text them? You're going to call them? You're going to email them? You're gonna go over to their place of business and see them face to face. You need to identify the how, and then you need to identify how many reps you're gonna do. And you only do that instead of grabbing your phone and being like, man, who should I call? And when I call them, what do I say? See, that's what happens when our people haven't gone to the gym for 3 years or they haven't lead generated for a serious amount of time to the point that it's a habit, is that they need to be told what to do. And an RWOD, a realtor workout of the day, is the way in which you do that. See, your perfect schedule shouldn't be 3 or 4 hours of lead generation a day. I believe, especially for those that are starting out, it's a short burst of 30 or 45 minutes of lead generation doing the same repetitious thing. You first practice and you role play before you do it, and then you do it, you take a breather, and then you do it again. You maybe stay on that for an entire week, but you hammer through and do the same thing until it gets to a mastery position. It seems like micromanagement, but what it is it's setting somebody up for success because they are looking to you. They're looking to you to say, how can I be successful in my world? Or you might be looking to me to say, Eric, how can I be successful in my world? And I'll tell you that massive discipline around your lead generation and doing short bursts will provide a greater amount of success than anything else. So you start off your morning, you do as Hal Elrod recommends with the SAVERS acronym. You do God, family, and self, and you tend to that. After that, you tend to your team. You make sure you're doing great one-on-ones and connection time that they feel trained and seen and valued. From there, you're honoring your lead generation time to go after more clients. that if something for some reason does have to be removed, it doesn't get erased, it gets replaced. And you say this is super important. And if there's a fire that has to be tended to, you don't just not do it, you just reschedule it for later. And then, of course, you're involved in your community. So I heard a speaker a couple weeks ago ask this question. I thought it was powerful. Can it be eliminated, automated, or delegated? Let's first talk about elimination. What on your schedule right now is not of the highest of priorities? This is like finding those people that you say no to, or finding those tasks or jobs you say no to, because leverage can be the way in which you delegate it. But there are some things that probably aren't of the utmost of importance. Are you serving on committees that don't give you any value? Are you involved in some things that aren't moving the needle forward for you? Because if so, you might need to eliminate it. The automation piece, you don't know this, but right next door to me in the next office is my partner, Robbie T. And Robbie has actually mastered automation to the point that we have over 80,000 people in our database. And almost all of the touches that are happening with them are automated, artificial intelligence and messaging plans and systems. That's actually available for you if you go to hatchcoaching.com. Take a look and see what Robbie's doing with the Hatch ISA, because it is powerful and massive, because we've automated a lot of this stuff. Whatever else in your life you can automate, you should look to do that, because we think that we're super important and that we have to have our fingerprints all over everything. Frankly, people want what we stand for. They don't want us all the time. Then, of course, there's delegation. And the solution to a lot of this is leverage. That if you're at a point saying, I can't keep up with this stuff, or I don't have enough time in the day, it means you need to leverage. And it's a sacrifice of money today for time tomorrow. And that time will actually create more money. Write this down. This is super important. I want you to write down, I am the most important person in my world. I was on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I said confidently, I said, the most important hire I've ever made is me. Now, granted, I am as hopefully as selfless as the day is long. I wrote a book on servant leadership, trying to pour into other people. And yet I understand that the leverage around me, the automation around me, the delegation around me, and the elimination of things around me is the greatest way to have my success. And you are your own greatest success story if you can learn to do those things. I remember making my first hire afraid to death of actually spending $10 an hour on somebody. This was back in 2011. I hired an admin who was a college student. And I was so scared of hiring somebody in a world like that, because I thought, how in the world can I ever support this person? Realistically, their job was to support me and to take things off my plate and to allow me to go and do more higher dollar per hour income producing things. So that opportunity is waiting for you here. So one of my final points here, we're getting close to wrapping. So shake your shoulders, shimmy up a little bit, because we're almost done. Mastering white space is a concept you need to learn to adopt with a great fury. I shared with you earlier that Rob on my team and some of our other agents will actually put in their calendar white space. That white space is scheduled time to catch up. See, if you're going to be super disciplined, and as an example, my day is jam-packed today. I started my morning out at 8:15. I record my radio show, and I have been jam-packed through there. That means I don't have time to respond to emails or Facebook messages or phone calls or anything else, and I can only do what's on my calendar. And the only time I can get back to those emails and those phone calls and those text messages and just to get caught up on anything is if I schedule it. So to schedule out white space, to schedule out breather time, to schedule out bathroom breaks, to schedule out your lunch breaks, and to have your world so dominated by your calendar that everything shows up on there. That's the way in which you get freedom, because it's on the other side of discipline on your calendar. So white space is putting in that space to catch up. That's your breather time. And you should have total permission to have white space. Just like I said with your lead gen, do it for 30 or 45 minutes. If you're not in marathon shape, do it for 30 or 45 minutes and then give yourself 15 minutes of white space. Breather time. The greatest athletes in the world still take timeouts, and they still get quarters and periods and halves, and they get their break times, and you should too. I mentioned this before, but it's really important that you don't erase things on your calendar that are of the utmost of importance, but instead you replace them. If you have a one-on-one schedule with somebody and you have a client in from out of town and you can't get to that one-on-one, that client is demanding that, don't just remove and erase that one-on-one, reschedule it, replace it. Your team is desperately waiting for you to show up with consistent action. And so here it is, the perfect schedule. Do the most important things first, leverage your life, protect your schedule at all costs. If you can do this, you're never gonna have to hire a coach. I hate to tell you, but like I'm a super expensive coach. And I spend half of my time with some of my clients working on their schedules. If you can do what you say you're going to do, if you can actually lead gen like you're supposed to, if you can actually tend to your team like you're supposed to, and you can honor your calendar, you will save yourself tens of thousands of dollars from coaching, and you will make yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars annually by mastering your schedule. So that is the biggest secret of all this coaching stuff, is it's just accountability for somebody to help honor your schedule, because your schedule should show what's most important. So with that, here's your homework. Your homework is this, is to create an ideal schedule for a week based on everything you heard here. I don't expect you to radically change what you're doing in a day or two, but to grow into it. And so maybe for the first week, you adopt a couple of these philosophies, and the next you add a couple more. And by 30 days out from now, that your schedule reflects your perfect schedule that you write out. If you're going to do that, the world is your oyster. So if there's any questions, I'll hold on here for just a minute. I have a couple things that are really important though, so don't go anywhere just yet. In just over 30 days, if you're watching live, we are gathering in Fargo, North Dakota for our Hatch Coaching Summit. It is one of the greatest things that happens, bar none, hands down, in the entire real estate industry, and we're doing it in person. We'll of course follow all the COVID guidelines that we need to, but we are so excited about it, and it is going to be the mastery of teams and personal development. It's just unlike anything else in the industry. It is really awesome. In addition to that, we have our marketplace. If you go to hatchcoaching.com, you can see our marketplace, and I'll even give you a discount code in the email we send out so you can save some cash there. And then I shared with you, Robbie has some amazing training things that can help you automate your business and to master lead conversion. He and I both built out some training modules that will help your development of team, your development of your schedule, your development of your lead conversion skills, and those are available on our website as well. So if this is valuable to you, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let us know that we're bringing some value. If you have topics we want to cover in the future, let us know, and I'll happily do a webinar for it so I can bring as much value as possible. But otherwise, I don't see any questions, so God bless you. Have a beautiful day.